In 1967, the PAAC Skybus, also known as the Transit Expressway Revenue Line, was set to revolutionize Pittsburgh's public transit. It was slick, shiny, futuristic, completely automated, promising a quick and comfortable ride on tracks elevated above traffic. The system ran these small automated buses because back then you were allowed to call them buses instead of pods. Each bus had 28 seats, a max speed of 80 km per hour, and electric motors powered by a third rail. Now you might say, Adam, so far this sounds suspiciously like a train, a very low capacity and needlessly over-engineered train. And that's because it is, more on that in a bit. The Skybus was envisioned as this sort of gap filler between buses and subways, because trams don't exist apparently, but in the end it failed to amount to anything. While the Port Authority of Allegheny County, PAAC, supported the introduction of the Skybus, both the mayor and the governor opposed it, favoring instead a mixture of heavy and light rail. The demonstrator line opened up in 1967 and turned out to be quite popular. It was quite the novelty for its time, a fully automated transit system for 1967, it's a big deal. But after almost a decade of political battles, funding and support for the Skybus finally evaporated, and by 1980 the demonstrator line was dismantled completely. Despite that, however, the developer, Westinghouse, went on to build the Miami Metro Mover afterwards, which is actually operational to this day. And so systems like the Skybus, the Miami Metro Mover, and also monorails in general are what we call gadgetbahn. Now, gadgetbahns have essentially the same operational characteristics as regular trains. They're metal boxes running between stations on continuous tracks that need gentle curves and small elevations. But every gadgetbahn seems to have some needless twist that sets it apart from regular trains, mostly for the sake of not being a train. Because turns out the techno-bullshit factor is very good at attracting public support and funding. Let's say the city center needs to be connected with a suburb or something. If the city proposes a light rail line, they might get a fair amount of support, with a third of the population screaming communism, at least in the US. But if Elon Musk comes along and instead proposes the epic bacon 420 pickle Rick pod shuttle, which would be like a normal light rail line but with half the capacity or something, he would get positive, uncritical, global media coverage for a month. Now that being said, the Skybus and gadgetbahns in general have the exact same operational constraints as regular trains, which means they must also deal with the exact same problems: speed, energy, cost, comfort, capacity, accessibility, and safety. And if you can come up with a system that does well in all these categories, then congratulations, you've revolutionized transportation, unironically. In real life though, overcoming one problem usually results in exacerbating others. Want to have high speeds? Going above 300 km per hour will skyrocket your energy use in all cases. You will also need very straight tracks with minimal curves, which will drive up costs due to land purchases. Do you want to have low energy use? You'll have to decrease speeds or capacity, or build out costly energy infrastructure like solar farms next to the tracks or something. Want to have low construction costs? You'll have to use existing right-of-ways such as roads, which are usually designed for lower speeds. You will also need to build on ground level and have at-grade crossings, further decreasing speed and safety, and so on and so forth. Now that being said, most of the problems can be solved by almost any gadgetbahn, but at the expense of horrendously exacerbating another. And so, even if your futuristic techno system does really well in 6 out of 7 aspects, failing on the 7th is usually enough for your competition to demolish you. And that's because your competition is conventional rail. From trams to high-speed rail, turns out trains can solve all 7 problems reasonably well, meaning they'll perform exceptionally well in some aspects while not running into the red in any others. The Skybus would have been somewhat fast, not that energy efficient, but comfortable, safe, maybe accessible, but very expensive. 11 miles of Skybus plus 18 miles of conventional bus right-of-way costing twice as much as 28 miles of light rail. It was also laughably bad in terms of capacity. Seriously now, for perspective, 3 of these things hooked up together would seat as many people as one Hungarian suburban passenger car from the 60s/70s. Oh wow, look, we doubled the Skybus's capacity, what kind of techno miracle is this? Contrast the Skybus with something proven, tried and tested like conventional light rail. It's reasonably fast, energy efficient, comfortable, safe, accessible, not too expensive, and good at scaling up capacity. Any sane public official will take one look at this and go, yep, we're doing the light rail, even if the Skybus promises to improve its characteristics on the way, because it's just that, a promise with no guarantee. For example, concerns about the Skybus's switching system remained unresolved all the way to the end. And the thing is, if projects like the Skybus were truly viable, they would bring a complete system to the competition with all the issues already worked out completely. Because if the idea was viable, they would have no trouble attracting private funding for research and development. And hell, even complete bullshit like Theranos and Juicero could attract horrendous amounts of investment. A further problem with systems like the Skybus and Gadgetbahns in general is interoperability. So over here in City Skylines we have this international airport, which we would like to connect to this commercial district with convention centers, stadiums, etc. and then go further on to the city center to this train station. So first off, we can do it by building a Gadgetbahn. In this case it's a monorail. So as you can see here, the connection is up and running, and it is possible to get from the airport to the commercial district and then to the train station. All three are neatly linked up by the monorail. Alright, so let's now try doing the same thing with conventional rail and see what happens. Now the thing about conventional rail is that while the monorail was this sort of island service, existing completely separately from all other transit, conventional rail can be neatly integrated into the existing system. And this is actually pretty good, because now we can have all kinds of trains stopped by the airport. You know, if you have some suburban trains or long-distance trains coming in from the west, they can just stop by the airport and offload the passengers who want to fly, instead of, you know, having to travel all the way to the central station and then there change to a monorail, which then will take them to the airport. And if you want to go from the airport to the commercial district, then you can take some rapid bus service or something when it's not that far away. But beyond issues like feasibility and interoperability, Gadgetbahns have one last fatal flaw. It's that they are built to solve the wrong problem. So let's ask ourselves the question, why do we want to build things like the Skybus, the Loop, the Miami Metro Mover, monorails and other Gadgetbahns? Well, so that we can travel quickly above the congested streets. But why are the streets congested? Well, because we gave them over to cars. So instead of trying to come up with elaborate, over-engineered solutions to traffic issues, why not start addressing the real problem? Why not try to cut back on car use? It worked in London, Paris, Barcelona, Stockholm, Vienna, and it will work in the US, even in West Coast cities. Let's take away a few lanes from cars and turn them into dedicated lanes for public transit. Suddenly, we no longer need to build elaborate elevated track systems. We can just put some tracks in the middle, or some bus lanes on the sides. And the best part is, taking away lanes from cars in favor of public transit will decrease congestion because induced demand works the other way around as well. Building a Skybus or monorail or any other techno-miracle system to fix urban mobility is like taking painkillers against a brain tumor. It might help with some of the symptoms, but the tumor will keep taking more and more space inside your skull until you die. That's my metaphor for a city becoming unlivable. And this is why the Skybus and other Gadgetbahn systems are basically pointless. They are shiny, futuristic, half-baked solutions to the wrong problem. If we really want to quote-unquote fix traffic, we need to A. cut back car use, drastically so, and B. build a fucking train. Which Pittsburgh actually did in the end, so good for them. Every other solution is just a band-aid on a bullet wound basically. A shiny band-aid with the occasional gamer lights. Thank you for watching, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I would also like to thank my patrons for helping me run this channel. And if you also want to support me through Patreon, the link is down in the description. Thank you for watching and see you next time.